Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on taking off this old roof hatch and we're going to replace it with the Schoolie.com roof hatch delete kit. And come along for the ride. You're going to see what I do as a first timer doing this. Ultimately, what we're looking at doing is taking off this hatch here, putting the delete kit on, and installing a max air fan right in the middle of the bus. Then we can open windows on either side to direct where the airflow goes. Then we're going to take these solar panels off. There's just 4 of these. They're 100-watt panels, and we're going to replace it with those monsters right there. So we've got 4 of those. They're Grape Solar 300-watt panels, so we're going to have a total of 1,200 watts up on the roof in solar. Here is a kind of a close-up at the delete kit for the top. So it's just a piece of sheet metal that's been cut out to the right size, and the screw holes have already been drilled in there. So I'll probably use some metal roofing screws. And it did not come primed, so I went ahead and I got some Universal Automotive bonding primer from Rust-Oleum, so that way it won't rust out on me. Now Schoolie.com does sell this with the option of already having the max air fan opening cut out in the top. However, at the time when I purchased this, I wasn't planning on putting the fan there, so I have to cut the hole out myself. So for this, I've got my paint scraper. This is going to help me get all the silicone and sealant that's on here already off. And I've gone ahead and I've gotten this part from Lowe's that can adapt a socket onto here, and I'm using a 5/16 socket. That's what fits these screws right here. So the people that had this before me, they actually sealed this thing like pretty crazy. They put a ton of silicone on here, a ton of that caulking. So I'm gonna work at this for a while and hopefully get it off in a little bit. All right, I've been working on this a while now and it is not coming off very easily. So I went ahead and I got a crowbar and I got a hammer and a screwdriver, and we're gonna go ahead and see how that does. All right, now that that is done, once I got the pry bar underneath, it wasn't so hard to get it. And I've been dropping the screws down into the actual bus itself, so that way I hopefully don't get too many on the driveway. And now I'm gonna go ahead and get this caulking off here. And if any of you know like a really good way of getting excess caulk off of something, write it down in the comments below, because this seems to be a pretty hard task here. Well, I got this edge up to here and up to here scraped off pretty well. I'm probably gonna have to put a wheel on, sort of like a grinding wheel or something on my drill to be able to get all of this off. The reason I want to get all of this off is so that way we have a good watertight seal. But anyways, my wife is about to bring me out coffee, so I'm pretty excited about that one. And there she is. It looks like she brought me some food too. Look at all of this. We've got a very nice salad and coffee. Oh, so good to be alive. So here is the wire wheel that I was telling you about, and that seems to be working very well, getting this down to the bare metal. I still have a little bit more to go, but one tip that I wanted to share with you is that what I should have done, this is an absolute disaster under there, is I should have taped plastic underneath of this hole, and maybe a garbage bag or two taped together could have prevented all that from being inside of the bus, because now we have all the dust and all this extra caulking in there, and that could have been all avoided by just simply putting some plastic and some tape down here while I was working. One more advantage to using this wire wheel attachment is that I've been able to get these spots. Now these spots were kind of rusted up and whatnot, where water had gotten into the screw holes before, and now I'm able to wire brush those down really quick with this tool here and expose the bare metal. Now that's important because I'm going to be putting primer onto that bare metal, and then I'm going to be going ahead and sealing this all back in with that Schoolie Delete piece. All right, and now that I've gotten all the caulking off that I needed to get off, I even removed the solar panel so that way I could put this in properly. I've went ahead and I've drawn lines where the center is supposed to be, and then I've gotten it all lined up where it's gonna go. And this is important, and I'm gonna show you why. Because what you wanna do is you wanna look into these holes and make sure that it's actually gonna go into the metal. And not into another hole that's already existing in there. That's important so that way your screws actually have something to grip onto when you go in there. So that's what I did, and from the looks of it, I'm all set. I'm gonna be good to go. So now I gotta prep the surface and screw it in. So the two things that I'm gonna be using to seal this off is gonna be, number one, the butyl tape. I feel like everybody probably pretty much knows what butyl tape is by now. The second one is going to be caulk. Now, my caulk selection is very important because I am going to be painting this roof with a product called Henry's Tropicool to provide some more sun blocking, insulative qualities, as well as more waterproofing. So it needs to be paintable caulk, and you'll be able to tell that. It'll say right on the side, paintable. And then this right here, it says a water cleanup. So it's going to be easy to actually clean up the caulk off of where you don't want it on. And then the third thing that you look for right here, it says interior and exterior. So I don't want the stuff that's just made for the shower and for the tub. I want the stuff that's actually made, that can be outside and that can actually be painted. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I'm sealing this. And by no means am I an expert. I'm not a professional. I'm just some guy in my backyard trying to convert a bus into a tiny house. So what I'm doing to size these pieces up is I'm actually going and rolling this out upside down, so the sticky part up, and I'm putting it straight up against the edge, and then I'm dragging it all the way over to this edge. Now I've got these medical scissors. These are so handy, they cut almost anything. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come along the side here right at the edge and snip it, and then that gives me the perfect size that I'm going to need. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that one more time here. And once I'm done with this, then I'm going to turn them over and I'm actually going to stick them on. So my wife over there, washing off the tarp right now, actually told me that it is going to be raining for the next 10 days. So I need to get this done today. I ended up prepping the surface by taking off all the caulk and some of the paint and the rust and whatnot, and I went ahead and I did a primer on there. I'm currently waiting for it to dry. It looks pretty clear. It's supposed to rain around 6, so I'm really hoping that this turns out before the rain starts, so we'll see. Now I've put butyl tape over the holes that used to be there, and then I've also run a line of caulk around the interior edge there. And now we're gonna go ahead and flip that over and put it on. For this, I'm gonna be using 1-inch self-drilling roofing screws. These are screws that people typically use on like metal roofs. Set up again with 5/16 bit here on an impact, and we're gonna put it in. now that that's all in, these ones on this side were giving me kind of a hard time. But now that it's in, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run along the outside with a bead of caulk, and then I'll probably put some more tape on at a later time, a different product that I'll show you. I've used it on the van build before and it's worked great, even on top of all of that, to provide an even better seal. Now these roofing screws, they've actually got a little rubber grommet on them, like a washer deal, and so it actually produces like a waterproof type barrier there. But here's the thing, is that all these things that produce a watertight barrier on like a normal house, you got to think about this. We're going to be driving through rainstorms with this bus, so we have to have multiple layers here. That's why we have these washers, we have the caulk, we have the butyl tape, we have this other RV sealing tape that I plan on putting on top of all of it. So it's just you know, extra precautions, because we're putting a lot of rain on this, a lot of force on this, and it's our home. We don't want water in there. So I actually just accidentally ran this bead of caulk without videotaping it, but this is where the water cleanup comes in handy. So any areas that you hit that you did not want caulk on, you can clean it up with a wet paper towel, wet rag, you know, just make sure it's clean. And then you can also get your finger wet and run your finger along the edge and make it a nice smooth bead, and that's what we're looking for. Done, and I'm not like a professional caulker, so you can see it's not a perfect job, but I do believe it's going to be watertight, and I'm happy with it at the end of the day. Anyways, that is going to be it for this one. Over the next few days, we're actually going to get some rain here, so we're going to be able to have an opportunity to see if there's any leaks inside and what holes, if any, we need to be able to patch up at that time before we go ahead and put that tongue and groove ceiling on the inside. Next video you see could be that tongue and groove ceiling, or it might even be putting the solar panels up on the roof. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more bus building content.